Hello everyone, welcome to Crystal Eclipse. My name is Jessica. In this video, we'll be asking the cards about your children with your future spouse. And this will be just general, how many children I'm seeing in these cards, how your spouse will interact with these children, and how your life will be affected by them, or this future spouse and your marriage will be affected. So we see 5 stacks for you all today. Starting over here, we have clear quartz, labradorite, ocean jasper, rose quartz, and lastly we have obsidian. So choose whichever stack or stacks call out to you and we'll get started. You can check the comment section or the description box for timestamps if you'd like to skip directly to whichever stack or stacks are calling out to you. So we're starting with our first stack, which was with a clear quartz. Our first card is the Page of Wands. Next we have the Four of Wands, Daughter of Wands, and lastly Serendipity. So let me zoom in a little bit for you so you can see the cards a little better. So with this first card right here, with this Page of Wands, we're seeing more of a curiosity, a sort of like questioning, wondering how things are going to go, how things will pan throughout this relationship. So this could be either that you and your spouse are wondering whether or not you should have kids, or wondering how many children you should have. So this comes into the play of just in general when you start to discuss the topic of children. I see with this, it comes to a decision of waiting a little bit before you decide to jump into having children, or putting a lot of consideration into having children. This is something that you two really talk a lot about and go into detail on, because you don't want this to be just something that comes out of nowhere and surprises you. You want to have that preparation, that time together, and that time to sort of build anything that you need to build, like secure your finances, or plan out like who's going to stay home from work, if anybody's going to stay home from work, who's going to raise the child primarily. If you both need to work, where's the child going to go? These are all things that you will sit down to plan through. So this seems like a really good sign to start off this pile with as far as children go, because it's showing that you two are very concerned with making sure everything's put in place before you step into that situation. We're followed by the Four of Wands, which is a celebratory card, a good card showing happiness, of welcoming things that are wanted are arriving. So this is representing the children or child that you want. Whatever it be in this situation, I would say it seems like a single child or no more than 2. I really wouldn't say that you're going to have many children, and this is a decision that you'll make in the beginning, and then through as you begin to have children, this will be the decision that you two make. It could be that you both planned on having more, or you weren't quite sure how many you wanted, or you two wanted, but as the second child comes along, or as this relationship progresses, that's when things sort of change, and you sort of make reconsider a lot of things, like maybe this situation wouldn't be best, or maybe you wouldn't be able to provide the best lifestyle for these children if you were to have more. Whatever that decision is, or whatever you two decide upon, it is something that's welcome. This is something that you both want, and you've both come to the decision on. We see Daughter of Wands coming in, which is a strong card, and we're also seeing an infinity symbol within this card, representing unlimited options. We have a lot that can go on here, but it seems like a very positive card in this stack, where it seems like this family situation or this lifestyle is going to be the one that you had hoped for, like the things that you had planned, being able to raise them where you wanted, being able to invest where you need to, provide them with the things that you had hoped you'd be able to provide them with, and it's really going to come together. Of course, there will be some need for hard work in this relationship. It seems like it's going to be what you expected, though. You seem like with this card, the thought that's put into this Page of Wands card, it seems like since you think so much about things, I'm sure you're the type that has expected a lot of different outcomes in life and in relationships. So it seems like something you're going to be prepared for. Anything that sort of comes your way, you're expecting. You're not taking anything off the table. You're expecting it all to happen, so you won't be surprised, and so you'll always be prepared. So whatever the situation is, it really does seem like there's a lot of planning. There's a happiness because this is what you wanted, and then there's a good life ahead for both of you. When it comes to this final card of serendipity and merge with the flow, I'm seeing this more as a way of responding to your children as they grow up or as you raise them. It's more trying to figure out what way to raise them, how to move forward with them, what ways they should be taught, and who they should be taught to be around. So like trying to teach them just basic morals, trying to keep them away from bad influences, trying to sort of lead them down the best path without having them have to learn lessons on their own. So you don't want them to have to suffer. You want them to learn lessons from you teaching them, telling them not to do certain things. But there seems like certain situations where they might just have to go out there and sort of learn these things by themselves, learn firsthand. And that's where this situation and this serendipity comes in. Just more realizing that's part of life, and that you should just let it go, not focus too much on it. Just handle the things that you're capable of handling, handle the things that you can handle, and then just allowing everything else to just sort of go with the flow, and not be too worried about certain things. It could be situations where you're not quite understanding of certain things, like if when you first have your children, it could be that you're a little shocked by things, or you're not ready for certain things, but that's just part of being a new parent, with both of you not quite knowing exactly what to do, because I do see that these are our first children for both of you. So there's not going to be a previous spouse or a previous relationship within this pile that I'm seeing. There aren't any previous children. So it seems like with this relationship, it is going to be a little bit of a learning curve there. You're going to not know certain things. You're going to have to ask for some help, as expected with everybody. New relationships, new people being brought into the world. Everybody needs a little help, because there's always experiences that you haven't learned from yet, or you haven't gone through. So of course there's going to be moments where you need to rely on somebody else for help, or you're just going to have to sit back and let the universe take control over the situation. But otherwise, what I'm seeing is a great planning coming through with this relationship, a lot of consideration from the start of this relationship. This is not just going to be a topic that comes up out of the blue. This is going to be talked about from the start of this relationship. You're going to plan this, and you're going to be very happy that with all that you planned, because it is going to follow that path that you would hope for. Of course, there might be some issues here and there, but there's always a chance for a good outcome. So this is a good positive card in this stack, this Daughter of Wands, because there are unlimited outcomes, and serendipity is just a reminder to just let things go sometimes. Don't hold on to it. Don't worry too much. Allow the universe to guide you in this situation. That's what I'm seeing. It seems like your spouse is going to be very happy with the children that you have and this life. I don't see really anything that may be negative in this stack. And that was with clear quartz. So our second stack is with labradorite. Our first card is the Sun. Next, the Queen of Wands. We have Temperance. And lastly, we have Euphoria. So we see the presence in this first card of two older women. So we're seeing more of another educating moment. We're seeing that wisdom coming in, like with that first stack that we had, where there's a moment of questioning and receiving answers, hoping for better planning, trying to figure out things, trying to learn from others to make sure whatever path you go down is a path that you want. So I see this in a situation where this is either you or your future spouse, or both of you, going to others to try and learn more about life with children, so you don't go into that expecting too much or too little, so you know what to be prepared for and what you want. With this card, I will say, since it is the Sun, it's a very positive card. We're seeing it represent basically all your wishes coming true, all of the things that you'd hope for coming into real life. And that is a great positive stack because we're seeing that there's planning coming in. We're seeing within all of these cards, we're seeing planning coming in, consideration, and progression down a path that has been paved properly. So it's a lot of conversations that you're having. You're being able to talk clearly, say what you want, and have the other person, your spouse, understand what you want, and you both deciding together, not having sort of guessing or ifs still present. We see the Queen of Wands coming in, which is a strong figure that is very confident. We see no questioning, no hesitation in this card, and no worries. So when this child does come along, or these children come along, we're still seeing something that has that strength, that positivity. Also, I will say that she is holding a sunflower, which can be found in this first stack. So we're tying these two together, that continuation. So that wisdom from this previous generation that you're going to for help is being brought into this relationship when these children come in. With this Temperance card, we do see a stork here, which can be brought back to traditional stories saying that the stork brings children. I will say with this card only having what appears to be one flame here, one central figure, it sort of seems as if maybe there's only going to be one child, or there's going to be two, and if so, it seems like it might be a boy and a girl. But either way, it seems like there's very few children in this relationship. And that mean, to me, seeing the water fall onto this fire, it's going to be something that complements the relationship. If there are two children, they're going to complement each other. So if one's a little more outgoing, the other one might be a little more reserved, but they're going to complement each other in a way that the reserved one can bring a calmness to the outgoing one, but the outgoing one can help bring out a little more personality in the calm one. So it's going to be a good combination. And if it is one child, I see them really working well with you. You're going to get along well. It seems like it's going to be a match between all of you in that household. You're all going to get along quite well. With this Euphoria card, we're seeing honor yourself, which means like give to yourself a little, give yourself a moment to I don't treat yourself, to look at yourself in a brighter way. Look at yourself with more confidence, with more hope, and think better of yourself. So it could be in this stack that you sort of question certain things, or maybe wonder if you're capable of having children, if you'd be good at raising children, or even if you want children. And that might be why you went to these people in the first place, to ask them to try and figure out what it is that you want, and whether what they tell you can help change or help you decide on what it is that you want. So with this card, what I'm seeing is it representing you or your spouse, but mostly it seems like it's representing you deciding on children, whether or not you want children, and how many you'll have, because you wonder whether or not you're capable of being a good parent. But with these other cards being so bright and so positive, I will say that you shouldn't worry. Like, of course, parenting won't be perfect. There'll always be a learning curve, but in this situation, you seem like you'd be a very good parent. You just need to have the confidence and know that you'll be a good parent. You're doing the right things by asking people for advice, trying to get as much wisdom as you can in this situation, and going to other strong people around you, confident people, and people who have experience. You're doing the right thing because you're trying to build up enough knowledge to know what you're going into and whether or not you actually want to go into that. Whatever decision you make, I do see Temperance coming in, so obviously there will be children in this situation. I see a spouse that's very supportive, because we see these two supportive cards right here. We see confidence, and we see you being able to sort of ask others for help, and them going alongside you to ask for help. There's no sort of worry between you about how others will view your questions, or how others will see you wanting children. They're willing to learn with you, and they're willing to admit, like, if there's something wrong, or if they're scared too. So this is a moment where you two will come together and be able to discuss this. And with the support of people around you, I'm seeing a lot of confidence building. I see no major issues with raising this child, or as this child grows. It really seems like it's a village in this situation. That village is really raising this child, so you're not going to have to worry about how you are going to raise this child, because everybody's going to be there to support you, including this spouse. I see a lot of support coming from this spouse in general. It seems like a very loving relationship, a very kind and equal relationship, where they're really there to help you and to support you. And there's a lot of give and take here. There's a lot of understanding too across all of these cards. If there are any issues, all I would say is there seems to be a moment where you might need to take a break and sort of look away, maybe remove yourself from a situation, or try to like ask for advice, so that you know that what you're doing is right, or so that if you feel like you've made a mistake, somebody can tell you not to worry about it. So don't be afraid of asking for advice. Don't be afraid of approaching people. I see a really positive relationship. It seems like it's going to be quite good, and a good peaceful experience. So that's what I'm seeing with this second stack and labradorite. Our next stack is with ocean jasper. Our first card is Temperance. Next we have Strength, Justice, and lastly we have Liberation, Free Yourself. So we're seeing a lot of different cards here, a lot of different emotions that can be interpreted here. With a few of these cards, though, we see more the relationship between you two, you and your spouse, more than the relationship with you and your children. But that's not a bad thing. It seems actually in this situation like a very good thing to see this sort of contrast, because within all of these cards we actually see two figures. We see the main figure here, which is Alice, and then we see the caterpillar in the background. We see this lion and this woman. We see two cats here, and we see this woman with this bird skull wrapped around her. So there's a contrast going on in all of these cards, and we're seeing mostly what this relationship will be. So how your spouse will come through in this relationship. And I can see, starting off with this Temperance card, there's going to be quite a bit of give on your side, and it's going to be a situation where it's almost in a way where the spouse takes a step back, or they are sort of worried about being a parent, that they don't want to embrace being a parent. So it might not be in very obvious ways. It might just be in really little ways that you don't quite notice. So it could be like they aren't playing with the kid as much, or they don't seem to really know how to interact with the child. And that's going to be a situation that you don't really understand, and you're not quite able to look at and try and figure out. It seems like it's an issue, because you seem to be the type that is willing to embrace it. We see Alice here grabbing a hold of this mushroom, embracing it, while this caterpillar is still sitting in the background, not knowing. Like, we're almost like waiting to see what happens, but also in a way that's sort of not interacting with the character. We're not seeing the caterpillar telling her not to do that. We're not seeing the caterpillar telling her to do that. It's sort of nonchalant, where they're not saying either thing, so it's not really like they're part of that relationship. And we can also see that in Strength, but instead of being represented the way it is in Temperance, we're actually seeing an interaction in Strength, where there's more of a push to try and get this person to be more of a part of this child's life. So it may be that you're going to have to try and coax them into playing with them, or teach them how to be a parent. Like, to me, they don't have any previous children, neither do you. It doesn't seem like anybody has any previous children, but especially with this person, it doesn't really seem like they know how to interact with children, almost like they were never a kid before. So it seems like something really odd, and you might have to teach them like how to play with them, how to interact, how to hold them, how to do certain things that seem like they shouldn't have to be taught, but they're so hesitant. This spouse is so hesitant that you have to guide them into this relationship and into this parenting style and this parenting moment in this marriage. As you progress into this marriage and become parents, you're going to have to teach them those things and prepare them. So if you drew this stack and you're listening to this, what I would say is during the pregnancy, try and sort of teach them a little more about being a parent, or try to get them to interact more with like the toys that are going to be around, or the devices that are around, anything that you can to make them more prepared for this child coming in, whether or not you're the one that's going to be pregnant or the one that is going to be the spouse to the one that's pregnant. Whoever it is, try to get that interaction going so that there's more preparation beforehand. I see with this justice card, we're seeing two, again, this opposing, this white cat and this black cat. But I want to say in this card, this is a representation of your children. So we do see two again in this stack. I will say it seems more like two because there's constantly two in this figure, or in these figures represented across these cards. We're seeing two quite frequently. I would say that they're going to have opposite personalities, but sort of in a way that you and your spouse have opposite personalities. So one's going to be more like you and one's going to be more like your spouse. But of course, since you get along, you'll sort of understand them better. Both you and your spouse will understand the children better because you're going to represent each other well. I also see within this justice card, we see this sword in the center, meaning that there's a central figure. So you both will be able to unite together when it comes to raising these children. There's not going to be many questions or wondering who gets the upper hand or who makes the decision on what. You guys are going to listen to each other quite well and be able to plan things out and make a lot of choices that you both want and that you're both very happy and satisfied with. I don't see a lot of questioning. I don't see a lot of bickering. There doesn't seem to be anything that might cause any issues. You're both going to decide on like religion, education, where you live, and it's going to be something that you both mutually want. There is no debate about it when it comes to these children. And I see that really great in this card because even though they may have a little difficulty embracing or acting like a parent in the beginning, they're really going to step up and into that parenting role as the children grow. With this liberation card, and it's saying free yourself, I'm seeing that as maybe allow this other person to have more of a handle on the children rather than doing all the work yourself or being the main central parental figure in your children's life. And that ties back into them not knowing how to be parents. So this is where it comes in, where you finally take that standard and you take that moment to tell them they need to do this. So don't be afraid when it comes down to this relationship. If you need some time, if you need, like, you want to go maybe outside and read a book, or you want to go to the spa, or you just want a day of peace and quiet at home, tell them, like, this is your day to take the kids somewhere fun, or take the kids away, or do something with the children so that you can have a moment to relax, because it seems like you're the one that's going to do a lot of the work in the beginning because they're so awkward around the children. But I see that, like, once you take the stand, they'll more embrace that parenting role and be more able to see when you need a break. That's what I'm seeing with this third stack and Ocean Jasper. Other than them just struggling a little bit in the beginning, I really don't see any major issues. And with our fourth stack, we have Rose Quartz. Our first card is the Eight of Cups. Next we have the Three of Swords. We have the Four of Swords. And lastly, we have Oblivion. Open your arms. So this stack, I see there being a little bit of a situation in the beginning, and this seems like something where there's a misunderstanding or just an inability to get along. They're walking away from something, and we see this pig in the cup. So I want to really say it seems like a childish situation. It seems like where your spouse is sort of not listening and just acting really childish. They're almost in a spoiled my way or no way kind of behavior. They're they're not willing to listen to you, not willing to hear what you have to say. And when it comes down to it, you get so upset that you have to just leave it. You can't talk to them, you can't look at them. You just need that moment of silence to try and get things back together and back into the way that they want it. And I see that leading into a situation that's very uncomfortable. And it could be that this argument happened during the pregnancy or during the time where you planned on having children. So that moment was quite devastating in a way, because it's almost rocky and you don't know how to move forward, and you question everything, and now it's like falling apart because of their behavior, and you don't know if you can bring it back together. You don't know if you can reunite on this situation because it impacted you so much. They need to grow up whenever this is, and they're just not listening to you and almost acting so spoiled that you don't want to interact with them. When this Three of Swords comes in, it seems like there's a situation where you take some time to sort of, I wouldn't say there's a separation or anything. I would say it's just like a moment, maybe a month, maybe a couple months, where you are at this point where you're so serious and you're so like, this is how things need to be, that they finally realize what it is that you want, and that by having these children they'll also have to grow up. So there's going to be a couple months or a month or so of sort of a tension between you two, where you just need to get through that, sort of get your voices heard, maybe not be super happy with each other, but get past that moment so that you can get everything done out of the way and prepare yourself for the arrival of the child or children that are to come in the future. I will say that there seems to be a bit of a hang up in this situation that is brought into the arrival of the child. So if there isn't already a child in the making in this scenario before this argument, there will be after this argument or around the argument, and it's going to progress for a little while through this. But I'm seeing with this little baby lamb right here, we're seeing the sun on its head, meaning there's a brightness that comes from this child, and a realization, maybe a new understanding, a new way of evaluating this relationship, and a new way of looking at things. I see this argument being solely centered around children, so it's going to be something they want. Like, maybe it could be something as little as a name for this child. It could be how many children you want, and them not listening or wanting to hear you out. It could be a lot of things, but it's solely centered around this child, and that's what causes this issue. It could be just in general the way that they want to take care of the child, and we're seeing that progress back through this argument and into the arrival of the child. But I do see that once the child is born, and once you two see the child, like once you're able to embrace this new path you're on with this child, they'll start being more considerate of you and understanding that it isn't a good environment for the child to keep bickering or keep arguing, trying to figure out who has the control over the situation. When Oblivion comes in and we see open your arms, this is a moment to more focus on the child and let anything else go. So don't try to argue with this person. Don't try and figure things out. Just let this child and this new relationship sort of guide the way for both of you. You both need to rely heavily on raising this child so that the child can have a better life. I wouldn't say that there won't be any further arguing or any further disagreements. There probably will be quite a few, but I see with this Oblivion card and open your arms that you two will be able to better listen to each other. So in this sense, the child will bring about a lot of happiness and a lot of understanding and equality within this relationship. You both will be able to hear the other person out a lot better than you did before, and it will really unite you two in this relationship and bring you two together. If there are any issues, I don't see major issues. I would say it's just little things, like maybe they want to send the child to daycare, and you want them to stay home because one of you can stay home with the child, or you have parents that can stay home with the child, but they're like, no, I want them to go to daycare because they need to interact with people. It seems like stuff like that. Or maybe if you want them to be homeschooled, or you want one of them wants to go to a private school and the other a public school. It's going to be just small things that can be easily talked through, but that's going to be the basis of a lot of arguments. It doesn't seem like anything major, because I don't see anything in this situation that's calling out for a real disastrous situation. The only thing I would say was, with whatever this argument is, whatever this first debate is, this is the moment where you two really need to work on the relationship, because this can be a downfall. This can bring a lot of pain, a lot of sort of hardship to this relationship if it isn't thought out well. So whatever this is, you guys need to get through this and understand each other. And if that is making sacrifices on your part just to get past this, so that this person can grow more, or just get to a better place in this relationship, then that might be what you have to do. But I do see it coming out pretty well with the arrival of this child. However, with this stack, I do only see one child. I don't see many, and I think that is decided after the first child. I think you both come to a decision to not have any more children after this first child is born. So I only see one in this scenario. You might have more, but I really only see one here. So that's what I'm seeing with this fourth stack and rose quartz. And with our last stack and obsidian, our first card is the Five of Swords. Next we have the Star, the Chariot, and lastly we have Witch. The magic you seek is inside of you, let it flow. So I'm seeing more growth in this stack than I have with the previous stacks. It seems more about your journey into having children than you and your spouse, and even the children that come in. It seems more focused on how you go about embracing this. It seems like with this Five of Swords card, it's almost as if you don't want children because you don't know if you'll be capable of raising them. Not like one of the previous stacks, I think it was the third stack, not like that. It seems more like you see children and you're sort of like, can I handle this behavior from them? Can I deal with this? Can I decide how to handle situations properly? And you sort of wonder if you're capable of handling that responsibility, in a sense. You don't know how to go about that, and you wonder, what if my children act like this, or what if I have rowdy children, what if I have children that are really excited? How will I handle this situation? So all the scenarios that are running through your head right now are making you a little hesitant toward having children. But I do see this spouse coming in, being the one that sort of shows you, yes, there's a lot of different outcomes. There are a lot of things that can come from this relationship, and there's a chance that your kids will be a little eccentric, or a little rowdy, a little easily excited. But at the same time, you can have great children that are all those things, but very kind and easily taken care of it, and respond to you well, and you're raising them well. So we're seeing the Star representing that there's a lot that can go on. There's a lot of give, a lot of take, but you need to see it from both sides. So as she takes water and puts it on the ground, she also puts it back in the lake, meaning that there's no sources being taken from. Everything is being given back, and everything is being rebalanced. So this person seems like a great person that comes into your life to try and help you down that path, try and get you to decide whether or not you want children, how many you want. But I also see this person being very supportive. So if you choose not to have any children, I see them being supportive of that, and deciding whether or not you're going to go down that path. They still seem like the person that wants to be there with you. And it could be with this Chariot card coming in that you think that you're alone in this, or that you think that they might not want to continue a relationship. But they do. They will stay with you no matter what you decide. But obviously, since we are on this reading, we're seeing a potential for children, and that's where this final card of Witch comes in. And the Witch card is representing something that is limitless. There are so many different paths you can go down. There are so many things that can come to you. You just need to be confident in yourself and be aware of what you bring to the table. This is time to embrace you and love yourself. So if you feel like you can have children and you want children, then have them. Know that there's somebody next to you with this future spouse that will support you. And they will always be there to help you. And yes, there are a variety of children that you can have with different personalities, but whatever it is, that is something you can handle and something that you are meant to have in your life. I do see with this witch card, since it is such a positive card, let's say don't worry about the children. They're going to be great children and you're going to love them. They're really going to respond to you well, and they're going to be what you want, even though they may have their quirks like all of us have. We're all different. Whatever it is, they're going to be good children that you are proud of and happy with. Whatever the situation, if you choose not to have children, if you choose to have several, it is all up to you, and this spouse is very supportive. I would say don't worry too much about the children. Maybe you know somebody that has children that aren't that well behaved, and that's what's causing you issues or hesitation. Maybe you're worried that things won't go well. Maybe you've had a toxic home environment, or you just don't know what to do. Maybe you never had that experience with children, so it's sort of causing you that fear, like of wondering what you're able to do. Whatever it is, we're seeing this ability to make it through, to get to this point where you can value yourself, where you can value everything around you. And another good thing is, in these cards, and these three cards are here, there's a lot of positivity here, and we also see each one tying into each other. So we see the star on the chariot and the stars in the sky. We see the sun, and we also see the moon on the horse's head and a moon in this card, the witch card. We also see a few stars. So we're seeing a brightness, even though the outlook might not be all that good, even though right now you may be very scared or worried about what is to come in the future. We're seeing a brightness. There's still something to look up to, something to look forward to. So no matter what it is, the spouse seems like a very kind person who's very supportive and very understanding, so they won't push you into anything. They won't be the type of person that says, well, I need this and I won't marry you if you don't tell me now whether or not you want kids. They seem to be very understanding. They're not going to do that. They're not going to push you, and they'll really be the type that knows you and wants to make you happy. So whatever situation this is in, I would say don't worry. I don't see an exact number of children, but if you choose to have children, if I were to rely on any of these cards, I would say with this first card, we do see two people in the background, but also we see a single bird in this one and a single bird in this card. So it could be, in my opinion, either one or two children. I see no more than that. I don't see many. I would stay closer to one or two. Don't see whether they're sons or daughters. I don't see anything like that. It just seems like you're going to keep it to a minimum because that's what you think you can handle. And that's what I'm seeing with this final stack. It's more focused on you, unlike the other ones, but I still see, like, if you do decide to have children, it does seem like one or two, not too many. I don't think that you'd be the type to want that many. And that's with Obsidian. So those are all the stacks that I have for all of you today. I really hope that one of these stacks was able to provide you with answers or with any clarity, maybe any resonance. I really want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If there are any questions you'd like asked in a future pick a card video, feel free to leave them in the comments section. Please have a wonderful day, week, and year. Stay safe and healthy. Bye bye.